Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We have had two complete days, pretty much, with 30% of the ability to use the internet. So the time my stream got shut off yesterday about 11:30 until 10 o'clock at night, I had no internet and no phone. I did have the phone for about 10 minutes, and I got through to the Globe operator, and she was very nice, and she sent a repair crew today, and they replaced my modem. So it looks like I'm going to be able to do a stream today. But if I get disconnected, there will be no second attempts. So let's start with the more important things. I'll give you an update on Warren H., who I did receive a mail from last night. He had a mild heart attack because of a new medicine they tried with him. So he's back in the ICU, and he was thinking he'd be out sometime late today. So when that happens, I'll update you, and perhaps we'll get Warren on a live stream tomorrow if that happens. They did stabilize him right away. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the new rules in BOHOL. So from what I gather throughout the Philippines and pretty much the rest of the world, BOHOL, at least in the Alona Beach area, has the least stringent rules. You are, in fact, allowed to swim. It's not a problem. Many people were in the ocean yesterday. When the live stream went down, I just took a walk to the Alona Beach proper, and the beach didn't have so many people on it, but there were a lot of people in the water because the tide was high at about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, which is like the perfect time for a tide to be high because the sun is out, the water is glistening. So there were probably, I don't know, there might have been 20 people in the water and many people sitting at the edge of the water. So swimming in BOHOL is allowed. However, if you're going to travel, the motorcycles that transport people from one place to another, they are called the hobble, H-A-B-L-E, H-A-B-L-E. They say it twice, a hobble. A hobble is a small scooter or a motorcycle, small, and you get on the back of one. Sometimes they give you a helmet, sometimes they don't. And typically it's 10 pesos to go 2 kilometers, except in Alona Beach. So in the city, it's 10 pesos to go 2 kilometers. In Alona Beach, they try to get you for 30 pesos. So some will try to ask you for 60 pesos to go 1 kilometer. But the normal ride is 10 pesos. It will probably go up to 15 pesos now so that they can compensate some of their losses. So I would expect a minimum hobble ride from when things go back to normal at about 15 pesos, which is 30 cents to go 1 to 2 kilometers, which is a mile. So, but if you can't walk a mile in less than, I don't know, walking slow, you can walk a mile in 14 minutes. So typically I'll just walk where I want to go. And for me to walk 10 kilometers in the sun, it's not problematic. So they see me on the side of the road. They all stop and ask you if you'd like a ride. And I said, Dali, humana, I will lakaw. So it means I would not like a ride. Thank you. I will walk. So typically I'll walk 1 or 2 kilometers wherever I'm going. So yesterday I did get in a good swim though. I hadn't been swimming for a while, probably 8 or 10 weeks. Since not because of the lockdown, but just because I had another project I was working on. So I got in about a half a kilometer. It took about, I guess 18, 19 minutes, but I did give it a good effort. And when I got to the end of the beach, there were a couple of fishermen with nets, and there was three Chinese men with they were free divers, and they were at the end of the beach. So to give you an idea about fishing regulations, Big E and Chi explained that there was no Big E explained that there was no fishing in Moabal, Moabal. It's Moalbal. It's in Cebu City. So they explained that there was no fishing and no swimming in Cebu. I heard another island, and I forgot the name of the island, that someone else also explained that there was no fishing or swimming. But here in Bohol, there were people with what is called a seine net, S-A-I-N, seine net. They were seine netting along the beach, not a problem. And there was 3 Chinese men with the proper buoy markers, was blue. So it was about 10 inches in diameter and about 3 feet in height. And on one end, it has a lead weight coral reef. And that's where I saw the buoy. And I know what the buoy is. So I swam out to them. What they eventually caught was a brown marble grouper. A brown marble grouper. It was about from the nose to the V, which is where they measure fish, to the V in the back of the fish's tail. I'd say it was about 26 inches. Now, I don't know what the regulations are for that kind of fish. I don't know much about fishing at all. And I know less about the rules of spearfishing. I do know that there are people that go spearfishing on a regular basis, but I don't know if there's a season or if there's a limit. There was just one fish on the fishing line. They had a professional grade fish apparatus to hold the fish, and so I guess it was about 26 inches in length. I don't know what it weighed. I guess 4 kilos, maybe 3.5 kilos, and it was, the name of it was a brown marble grouper. So when they swam in, I swam in as well, and we talked for a few minutes, and that was pretty much the only fish they had. Now, they did see other fish, but that was on the outside of the reef. On the inside of the reef, it's only 7 feet towards shore, and then it gets lesser at the shore. But on the outside of the reef drops off. Well, it's a rock reef. It's a coral reef, so it drops off down to 16 to 20 feet, 20 on one end of the beach and 16 or 18 feet on the other side of the beach. So fishing, well, spear fishing is allowed. They had the motorcycle right on the beach, and swimming is allowed. Many people were swimming. The hobble or the motorcycle rides are no longer to be availed in the Philippines, in Bohol, anywhere, not in the city, not in the province. If you have a hobble and you were working with it for money, and it was a registered vehicle, motorcycle, it's not allowed to be used anymore at all because of what they call safe distancing. And I guess I was offered rides, but I think it was like, probably not allowed. But that's 4 days ago. So maybe they changed it after I was offered a ride and walked anyway. But the hobbles are no longer to be availed. And if the new rule for tricycles in Bohol, 100%, it doesn't matter how much merchandise, food or supplies, building materials, it makes no difference how much you put in the tricycle. You can work out the price for that with the driver. However, the new rule is 1 passenger per tricycle. Now, if they get caught with 2 passengers, even I don't know if a mother and a baby are considered 2 passengers. I would imagine not, but not 2 adults for sure. So I said, what happens if you get caught? And he said they will confiscate the hobble. So I guess they confiscate the motorcycle also. I didn't see any police in the area, but there were police outside the area of Alona Beach when I went to the store about a half a mile from Alona Beach proper. They were not police, they were military personnel. There was a roadblock on both sides of Alona Beach using military personnel. So that is masks. If you're in a hobble, you need to have a mask. It's not optional anymore inside a jeepney or a hobble. The one thing that did change big time was typically from Alona Beach proper, which is where McDonald's is. Typically, the fare was 20 pesos, 30 cents. But 3 weeks ago, the fare went up to 40 pesos. And so now it's 80 cents for a ride to go from Alona Beach to the ICM Mall. Is 24 kilometers. So 24 kilometers divided, just say 20 kilometers divided by 80 cents. That's 4 cents. 4 cents a kilometer or 2 cents a mile. So that's pretty reasonable, 2 cents a mile. So 40 pesos is 80 cents, and the mall is 20 kilometers, so that's 4 cents per kilometer, or 2 cents per mile. Okay, Pedro Rojas Cervantes. You picked an easy name to say it, I gotta tell you. I don't know what your real name is, but it's an easy name. Pedro Rojas Cervantes. I wonder if that's your real name. I don't care if it's your real name. Hello, Michael. Crazy here on the North Shore of Lake Ontario checking in. Okay, so Crazy Kensigen here on the North Shore of Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario, boy. I'm sure that you're allowed to swim in that lake. There's no bacteria is going to live in Lake Ontario right now in April, with the water coming out of the mountains with the ice. I would imagine the water temperature is somewhere around, I don't imagine it's much more than 46 degrees Fahrenheit. I've been in the Great Lakes. I had property up in Michigan and in right outside Holiday Hills, and even Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan, you could go in the water anytime you wanted, but the best day to go in the water was the summer, and summer was July 17th. Typically, that was the warmest day of the year, and if you ran into the water up to, let's say, your shoulders, you'd have just enough time to get back out of the lake before you froze to death. Now, I started swimming after I bought the barge in Traverse City, Michigan. So I started swimming to do repairs on the barge in Port Austin, Michigan, the tip of the thumb. I started swimming, and when did I get stuck there? Right in the middle of June, and work on a stern drive under the water. I had to do something under the water. I think I was in the water for 5 minutes at a time, but I was 33 years old, and I was in good shape. But that water in those lakes, so Lake Ontario, that's a really nice place to live, but you can't go in the water there, as you well know. LaRue Seagrass, welcome to the machine. Welcome, LaRue, my friend, my religious friend. Maybe you're here because you want to join Father Fun's Christian Plus Church with, I'll be presiding over ceremonial procedures I'm not sure if I'm going to go to school to be ordained or not. I don't an ordained minister. I don't want to be a priest. That's for sure. That's one thing I'm positive about. But I might go back and do some more religious instructions, and then already Big E and Sister Chi, shout out! Already Big E and Sister Chi are going to be permanent members. They're going to have an abode somewhere in the building that we're going to build. It's tentative at this point. Big E, when all of this stuff settles down, Big E's coming to BOHOL, and we're going to see if, from a financial point of view, if it's viable to purchase the property, considering the economy at this time it's pretty late in the game to start building or investing big money into property here. And the property has a value of about 100,000 US. But LaRue, you would be a great asset to the Church of Christians Plus. LaRue Segrest and Father Fun, yeah, baby, we could we could give them what they need, and they could give us the service fees for the services rendered. So you would be administering prayer, and I would be collecting the service fees, because Lord knows the best business in the entire world is a church, for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's a 501c3 operation, so you don't pay taxes. Excuse me. Number two, it's all cash, baby. It's all cash. So it would be up to how much each person had in their heart to give, as Chi Corsairs would say. You give from your heart. So depending on their heart, how much money they put into the pot, which we would bang. We would first bang the pot and then do the ceremony, and then we would bang the pot and then pass the pot to collect a lot. So you would be in charge of prayers. Big E is in charge of Friday night singles gatherings, where there would be services rendered for the Friday night singles gathering. LaRue could be in charge of vespers and prayers, and I will be the finance end of the business. I will collect the monies and pay the bills, and then, of course, distribute the monies accordingly to the members of the flock that help. The cleaners, and Big E for his services, and he's going to have to travel back and forth to Cebu to do his other work, because the internet here is terrible compared to what's in Cebu. Now, Chi would probably stay for a few weeks at a time. Big E might just fly in, come by boat in, only to hold the Friday night single services. Might come in Thursday and then leave Sunday, because he's going to need sleep after the service is rendered. So, because singles meetings start at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and they run until early Saturday morning. So let's see what we have here on the board. So those are some of the things I wanted to talk about. Pedro, just Pedro. Salamat. Thank you, Pedro. Crazy Canadian in Toronto. Crazy Canadian in Toronto. There you go, baby. A crazy Canadian. I actually knew a crazy Canadian. His name was Manny Skywatch. He was probably one of the originators of a lot of concepts that were not popular back in 2010. He was absolutely sure. There was no uncertainty in Manny's mind, even going back into 2010, that they were spraying fog. They were putting fog up in the atmosphere. And everybody thought the guy was nuts. But now we know he wasn't so nuts. And then he was completely, absolutely sure that most of the runway models that were on the fashion shows for the designer fashion people, most of the fashion models, Manny going, this guy, listen to this guy. He's got to be out of his gourd. He was convinced and sure and did 45-minute to 1 hour videos sometimes showing you the models and then blowing up the models' faces and then showing you the atoms, apples in the models and how big their hands were and the length of their fingers determined whether or not, in most cases, whether it's a man or a female. And Manny would take pictures of the runway. And he was the crazy Canadian. He was the original crazy Canadian in Canada. And as it turns out, he was right about that too. He was right. There are many, many models that are men or hydrogenous or androgynous, I think the word is. So Manny was the original. But you will be the secondary crazy Canadian. Manny would be the primary crazy Canadian. LaRue Segrest will do the Vespers and prayers in the church. Ha ha ha, LaRue says, I'm not doing that, host, using my religion for fundraising. No, LaRue, don't go away. Don't go away. You are not going to be fundraising. No, you are just going to do the services. I will do the fundraising. Two different things. If you go and look at the books in the Vatican, they have all of that stuff separate. The priests just forgive the sins of the flock. The ushers collect the money. Just consider me a super usher. You will be free and clear of all sin. You don't have to touch the money. You don't have to count the money. No, you will just do the wonderful job that you do talking about the Lord God on your channel, and I will bang the pot, I will pass the pot, and I will collect a lot. You'll put the money in the pot. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to lose you. I was hoping that you would be a member of the Father Fund Christians Plus Church. Looking forward to meeting you and working with you and counting money by your side. So, of course, it's just a joke. Just a joke. So, I don't want you to think I'm serious about that. No. You will, of course, just do the prayers, and then you will go rest, and then I will collect the money. We don't have to worry about being next to me when I collect the money. Because Lord knows, if there's one rule that the church has, LaRue Segrest, the one major rule that the church has, especially around Christmas time, is that it is better for you to give than to receive. So not you per se, but the people that come to the church, to the gatherings, especially to the singles gathering, where dating will be availed either via the internet or in person. All IDs will be checked at the door, minimum age 21 years or over. And the participants will be, of course, many female Filipinas and male Filipinas on this end of the ocean or Doggett. And then on the other side of the pond, or America, will be the foreigners, because there'll be foreigner dating, or foreigners that come to the services. So the way that will work is I will have a proper and government certified guaranteed weighing scale. And if a foreigner meet a Filipina, they will be able to donate to the church accordingly. So let's say the foreigner weighs 100 kilos and the Filipina weighs 44 kilos. So that's 144 kilos. So the service fees for the actual physical meeting take 144 kilos and times that by 2. So it'll be 288 pesos for the meeting. it's a very inexpensive meeting if you're in the Philippines, plus foods. But if a foreigner wants to meet a Filipina and they meet online and they would like to meet in a neutral place like the Church of Christians Plus, and Father Fun would be guiding and making sure everything went well, I will bring the foreigner to the Philippines for $7 a kilo. So if he weighs 100 kilos, I will bring him to the Philippines for $700, but round trip would be $1,400. I'm working on these prices. I got it down to $7 a kilo because that's a reasonable price. The airline tickets are going to cost about $1,100. That leaves $300 for the church. So unless the fees for the airlines go up, then the fees will be about $7 a kilo for the man and the woman combined. So 144 times 7 would be just about 280, about $1,000, about $1,000 each way. So the man comes, be $1,000 to get to the Philippines and $1,000 back, and I'll buy the airline ticket for $1,300, and then there'll be services for the church. And I got it worked out. I have prices. Everything is going to be by the pound. So if you pick out a big Filipino, it's going to cost you a little bit more. A gamay or niwang Filipina be a little bit less. So it's by the pound. Same thing as basically the airline charges for luggage by the pound. Your service fees will be $7 a kilo for you, and $7 a kilo for the girl you're going to meet. You'll have to pay for both. That's just the way it works. It's more fair that way. This way we know that you're serious. Oh my God. Oh God. We are moving into rainbow territory here. Let's see what we got here. Sense of style. Let's see what welcome to the machine, sense of style. Welcome to the machine. Better to get. That's the motto of the Catholic and or any other church organization. Even the Jews have it worked out a little differently. You just mandatory certain amount of money from every family. Mandatory your child goes to Hebrew school pretty much since birth. Your child is cared for in a daycare center from pretty much from birth if the parents are working. But I built a Jewish on 79th Street and 162nd Avenue, 161st Avenue in Howard Beach. I built a large portion of that synagogue, and I remember children 2 or 3 years old in classes, regular classrooms. It was a synagogue, but it had rooms like classrooms, and it was a school, a Jewish school. And I remember the children 2 or 3 years old actually. They at that time, we're talking back in 1975, 1976. They still had cash registers where you push the buttons on the cash register, and I remember children buying something like they wanted to buy this glove, and the children would go to the shelf and buy the glove, and then they would give the other child at the cash register like $1 bill. And the glove might be 67 cents. And the child would ring up 67 cents, and one child would give the $1, and the other child would give back change. And it was real money. So the Jewish people are taught from a very early age how important it is to receive rather than give. It's opposite the Catholic religion. In the Catholic religion, we say it's better to give than to receive. But in the Jewish religion, it's better to receive than to give. It's two different things. Two different religions, two different things. Just so that, and that's a true story, though. So from the age of 2 or 3, they taught the children how to work with money, and then they would be graded on whether or not they got the change correct, and if they handed the customer the change correctly. So there'd be somebody watching them do this. That was part of their curriculum to learn how to handle money. And later on in life, and even before that, any Jewish person that I ever worked with, oh God, if I remember, I talked about Joel Mealy. We're going to sing for you Sense of Style in a moment. I talked about this fella, Joel Mealy, who was a deputy mayor of New York during the when the buildings fell down. And he had, oh God, I don't know how many brownstones I did for him. When I was 15 years old, I started refurbishing brownstones for him on the weekend. Him, his brother, Gene, you could look it up. Joel A. Mealy, architects, and his brother Gene. His brother Gene still runs the business. And they bought brownstones in Brooklyn Heights, which is now the most wealthy neighborhood in Brooklyn. They bought them from the city at auctions for $6,000 for 3-story, 4-story brownstones. Empty. They were empty because that neighborhood was very run down. And each one of them, after what was called the Cinderella projects, which I didn't work on back when I was 14, but I worked on many Cinderella project houses in the 77, 78, 79, 80. And those houses, when the Cinderella projects were done, they were city-funded government housing. It was city-funded construction costs for resale and or rentals. When those Cinderella projects were done, it's off Park Avenue, down off Central, Park Slope West. When those Cinderella projects were done, every one of those houses was worth between, if it was near the park, $1.5 million, $2 million, and if it was down the block, because it's only just 2 blocks long, they would be worth $1 million to $500,000. So Joe bought 17 houses on just one block, right on the park, not any facing the park, but the first 17 houses on both sides of the street. We worked there for years, and he made $50 million when he sold those houses. So he was worth a lot of money. And when I would order materials to build the deck for his house or somebody else's house, I remember Lucas Lumber, Lucas, Lucas Lumber in Long Island, Oceanside, Long Island, Lucas Lumber. I ordered lumber to rebuild his own personal deck. And being that we were friends, I said it was time and materials. So the lumber was supposed to come in the morning, and it didn't come. So I forgot the fella's name. There were 3 brothers. One was there were 3 brothers. 2 were older than the third. And Lucas, I said to them, I got guys here. We had already ripped up the deck the day before. The men were supposed to just come at 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock to get the lumber. The lumber didn't come, and I had to pay the men for the time, $10 an hour for about 8 or 9 men. So it's costing me $90 an hour, basically, to be on the job. And I told Joe it was time and materials. We had a little bit of he was such a cheap guy, that guy. He was so cheap. So the lumber came, I remember the amount of lumber, $1,700 and like 81 cents. And he was supposed to pay cash. That was the deal. It was supposed to be cash. And Lucas, when the lumber came, it was like Joe gave them a check, and then the driver declined the check. And he said, no, it's supposed to be cash, sir. Otherwise you have to pay tax. Joe argued with the driver and the owner of Lucas Lumber for the tax on $1,700 for an hour and a half. And while that was happening, my men were getting paid $10 an hour. So finally they came to an agreement. Whatever the agreement was, I don't actually remember. I was not in the house when they argued, but the driver said, okay, the lumber's going in the backyard. And then the lumber came off the truck and we put it in the backyard. And by that time it was 2 o'clock. it was a good size. It was enough to build a, I guess it was 21 by 22-foot deck, reskin the deck of the dock, and reskin the catwalk. And so we just stacked the lumber in the backyard, and then I told Joe, "You got to pay me for the men." He says, "Oh no, no, I'm not gonna pay you for the time they sat around." I said, "You could take the lumber, and you know what you could do with it, Joe? I'm not gonna build your deck. Get somebody else, because nobody could build decks like I could build decks." No, I was very fast and very efficient. I never left a mess on my jobs. All the lumber was routed. Everything was crown up or king crown for the joists. Nobody was coming close to doing the quality work that I had, and in the time frames that I did. I told them, "Nah, I don't want to do your job." And I told everybody else, "We go home now." So I paid them, and I went and I raised George's house, the house that you might see in one of my videos that I raised, and money for the men, because he couldn't get anybody else to match the quality of the deck. That guy, and this guy was my friend and my parents' friend since 1963. An amazing, he was Jewish, half Italian. Joel A. Mealy. Look him up. Joel A. Mealy. Joel A. Mealy Architects and Associates on Metropolitan Avenue in Maspeth. Look him up. That guy was worth $100 million, and he would argue with you. He argued with the man because he broke his agreement. He argued with the man. And when I asked him eventually, because that was just the first discrepancy. The second one was the last discrepancy with Mrs. Oll's bulkhead job, the contract for the permit. He said that he did that because if he put it in as far as a check, he would get interest for 3 days until the money left his bank account, because apparently it was a Friday and it was after 12. So he would collect interest Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And he did that so he would collect the interest on that $1,700. Meanwhile, he screwed everybody else. The driver got paid for 2 hours that he didn't do anything. Lucas had to argue with the guy on the phone. My men didn't get paid for a long time until I decided to go back and do his job, because he couldn't get anybody else to do his job. That guy, and he was worked at that time, because this is going back where I lived when I did George's house. Okay, this is going back 1979, 1980, 81, maybe 81. He screwed 15 people for money so he could collect the interest on $1,700 between a Friday and a Monday. That's how cheap he was. And he was only half Jewish. And eventually he told me why whenever he had to pay me, every time I would go do the Cinderella project jobs for him, or his brother owned buildings and most of the buildings that they owned, they tried to rent to professional doctors, psychiatrists, and lawyers. Every job was custom. A psychiatrist's job would have to have double wall with 6-inch insulation in the walls, so it would be soundproofed, and there'd have to be electrical outlets for 2 fans on one side of the wall, and there would have to be a built-in, a desk coming out of the wall out of plywood, because they didn't want to buy furniture. It was like a commercial business. So every job was different. And every time I went to get paid, I'd be done on a Tuesday. He'd say, "Come on Friday." Why Friday? That Friday you get paid. But all those times that he paid me on a Friday, he knew I couldn't cash the check till Monday. And that's why this guy did it. And now you got to understand, he's worth $100 million. $100 million. And the interest, maybe my jobs for the men that I would bring to the Cinderella projects, maybe they would be not much. We only paid the guys $10 an hour. So if Tommy worked for me for 8 hours a day, at the end of the day, it'd be $400 for him and maybe $600 for me. You're talking about $1,000. And he would he would pay us in check, never paid us in cash. And he was such a cheap guy. Half Jewish, half Italian, boy. That guy was unbelievable. So, let's see. We're going to sing now. Sense of Style says better to give. And of course, for me, if you're giving, I'm receiving. So we will sing. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Salamat. So sense of style. So another series of videos I'm thinking about doing is what do you guys think about this? Now that we have the wordsmith here, I have to pose a question. The wordsmith Scott Del Fuego has entered into the conversation. I have a question. It's a serious question. Okay, it's going to be like a game show, and I'm besides Father Fun. This has nothing to do with Father Fun, although I think it's going to be fun to do this show. But it's going to be a one-time only show, maybe with a follow-up show a few weeks. I think that this idea that I have, I'm going to run this by my flock, if any of my future flock are here now, Sister Chi Corsairs or Brother Big E in Cebu, perhaps even the great Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmith, may grace our services with his presence. Whoa, big rain. So I got an idea. Let me read the comments, and then I'm going to go back to my idea. My idea has a lot to do with something that I have heard so much chit chat about on the internet that I actually want to have a contest where each person will be challenged to do a certain thing. And then we're going to see if what they said in the past is true today. And the past can be yesterday or last month or 6 months ago. So it's going to be a challenge of the truth. And it's going to be something that nobody will be able to lie about. So I'm going to run this. So let me read the comments. LaRue Seagrass is my Vespers, in charge of my Vespers and prayers of the flock. Okay, so LaRue said hello. So LaRue is asking a question. Yes, LaRue, you will be like you will give them hope with your love of God. Serious. I'm LaRue. Actually, she is just an amazingly God-fearing and God-believing person. LaRue will be the spiritual anchor of the Church of Christians Plus, and Reverend Big E in Cebu and Sister Chi Corsairs. LaRue will be the anchor of the church. So LaRue is always pleasant. She said, hello, sense of style, good day to you. And LaRue says, background host doing some stuff in the kitchen. Okay, LaRue, you take your time. So now we have Pedro says, yes, I remember you mentioning Manny. Manny was, as much of a friend Manny was, he never would give me his personal email address, and I don't know where he is. People ask me all the time, and I can only say that I might have been the last person that Manny spoke to in private messages on YouTube. But that segment of YouTube is gone. And last I heard from Manny, he was building. There was a name for a Canadian fishing boat, a wooden boat, about 26 feet long, and he was building it himself. And that was going to be his project, and I never heard from him again. Yes, Pedro. Jungle Surfer is another person that does the transvestigations. And I know who he is. I don't watch him. I don't have time to watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. So, but I remember Jungle Surfer, and years ago when we all first started, Manny, Jungle, Johnny B. Good, Johnny B. And a couple of other people. We all used to talk, and Manny and him did the crazy stuff, and I did the comedy. They did the crazy stuff, and I did my dollar bill, my Rabbi Jew Barker series, which I spoke with someone last night about the Rabbi Jew Barker series on the phone, and they were laughing. They said that had to be one of the greatest comedy routines on YouTube, only second to the bottom of the Flat Earth comedy routines. Somebody said I should have won a television award. Whatever the awards are given for TV comedy, I don't know what the name of those awards are, but that person that I was talking to said you should have won. It's not an Oscar, that's for the movies, but you should have won an award for comedy when I created the bottom of the Flat Earth series. Oh boy, that was, keep it up. We have another super chat. So the contest, I'm going to describe the contest. First, we have to sing to this gentleman who is a dartboard. Okay, I don't know who did that, but it looks like I can't see. It looks like a dartboard or some sort of a wheel. Keep it up, baby. Keep it up. And is it fair? That we might talk about that, but we're gonna do this contest where there will be no cheating. I have this contest nailed to a science. So first, Michael, thank you very much. Salamat, Michael. And digressing back, they said that I was in tears. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted. And this fella brought up the Rabbi Jew Barker series, and because of a donation that he made to Patreon, which I had offered anybody that made a considerable donation to Patreon, including G.E. Northrop, who made the biggest super chat of the year, far exceeds many other people's yearly super chats. G.E. Northrop was the most generous human being. And so we're going to talk about G.E. Northrop too. I will give you an update on purchasing the computer in case G.E. Northrop is here. If you say you're here, I will give you the update on the computer, because I didn't stop with that, but I also didn't have internet for 2 days. After the live stream yesterday, I had internet from 10 o'clock last night till 1 o'clock, and then it went off, and it came back on at 8 o'clock this morning for about a half an hour, and then it went off again. So if G.E. Northrop is here, please let me know, because you donated a large amount of money, $315 US, 250 pounds to the computer in 1 day. So thank you, G.E., which is probably close to 100 times. I saw there's a channel out there. I forget the name of the channel. Oh man, we're unstable. I lost my connection. All right, the connection is back. Let me get down to business here. Scott Del Fuego, let's read. I lost the internet, and that may very well be because it's raining, but let's get down to business. Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmith, says, working for a real man, you know to work. Okay, so working for a real man, you know to work hard, to be on time, to do your best, and not steal from me. Oh, that's a big no-no. Michael's workers knew they'd get fair pay, a broken nose if they stole, and don't show up late. Not allowed. There were some rules. I was a little bit more strict with rules than most other people, but I know it sounds unfair, but when you have 10, 12, 14, 20 men here, and people start coming in at 1 minute after 7, because I started at 7, I would just send them home. I wouldn't want to argue with them, why are you late? These are men that I grew up with since birth, These are men that live 2 or 3 blocks away from most jobs, and if they couldn't get to work on time, I would just send them home. Stealing, not an option. Even a person would steal from me in 1980 or 77, they would never work for me again. And if they did, it would be grunt work. I'd get 3 truckloads of broken concrete, and it would have to be placed behind a bulkhead, and that would be their job. They were never allowed to work with tools, or any kind of go near my toolboxes. They were never allowed. Even some of my best men would steal an Estwing hammer or a good. They would take their garbage Lufkin ruler, and they would replace it with my good oil Lufkin ruler. And so eventually that's how I started marking my tools. So, Sense of Style says hello to LaRue. Michael Handelman, dude, don't get shot. Michael Handelman, I get every single police officer in Alona Beach knows me by face and most by name. So I don't worry about that. And as far as the military is concerned, I wear the mask and I walk. So that's why most of the people know where I live and where I am, because I walk. And they all know that I'm the guy who doesn't take the motorcycle, the hobble or the tricycle. I'm the guy that walks everywhere. I'll walk 2 or 3 kilometers up to Giuseppe's Pizza. Right across, there's a little vegetable market. If I don't feel like going to the city, I'll walk 2.5 kilometers to the vegetable market, and then I'll grab the vegetables and walk back. So pretty much everybody knows me. And Alona Beach, Michael Handelman, is not like the rest of the Philippines. It's not a city. It's a tourist town. It's based 100% on tourist money. There is no other way to make money in Alona Beach. You're either on a restaurant, a food store, fast food store, or a bar, or any combination of the above, or a boat business. But the boat business is all tourists. So Alona Beach is not like the rest of the Philippines. I guess you could consider the tourists similar to Boracay, but in Alona Beach, people don't get drunk and stupid. I've never, ever, not one time here, 6 years, I have never seen anybody get drunk and stupid in Alona Beach. I don't know if it's the same in Boracay, but there just is not going to happen. No matter how drunk, no matter how much they drink, no matter how long they're in the bar, I have never seen an altercation between a foreigner and another foreigner, or a foreigner and a local, ever. And I don't frequent bars, but I lived on properties where there were bars. I never saw that. So Alona Beach is really not a very peaceful place. BOHOL is a peaceful place. But thank you for the. I heard stories about that. I even heard stories about that restriction. That's an amazing thing. That the story that I heard was actually talking bad about Mr. Duterte for looking after his country. It's his country. He can do what he wants to do. He's allowed to do that because he's the president. Now, anybody that talks against that person would have to do so with the understanding that it's probably not allowed. But I mean, if you want to take risks, but I only heard about that because someone sent me that article where Mr. Duterte enforced new restrictions. And to be honest with you, I've been in BOHOL for 6 years, and I have never, ever, it doesn't matter where I've been, in the city, outside the city, in a mall, outside the mall, I have never seen anybody have a fist fight. I went to my friend's birthday party December 8th. I go to the same party every year, December 8th. There were well over. Now, Scott Del Fuego, he saw the videos of that party. I sent those to him personally. There were well over 250 men drinking from 4:30 in the afternoon till 4 o'clock in the morning. And there was no one ever raised their voice. There was a 42 kilo lechon that for the mother's birthday party, and I was outside. They dragged me in the house so I could cut. Somebody else did the prayer. I prayed a little bit with the lady, but I was the one to carve first. I get first cut on the pig because they like me. There were more than 1,000 people visited the house that day, and she fed every one of them rice, pork, beans, salads, and each child got one of those little 6-ounce, 5-ounce sodas. So I watched, in a matter of 3 weeks, close to 2,000 people drink 20 cases of rum. Each case, 12 bottles per case. So more, probably more than that. I don't know how many cases of quart beer. At the man's party, there were 12 cases of rum stacked on top of each other. And then next to that was the same height in soda, in Coca-Cola, and Fanta orange soda. And they started drinking at 4:30 in the afternoon. At 7 o'clock at night, there were 45 tricycles lined up along the block. And those tricycles all brought people to the parties for both the son and the mother. So I've watched, I don't know, 250 bottles of rum consumed during the course of 2 parties. And most of the people at the party couldn't even stand up by 2 o'clock in the morning, because I would go home, take a nap, and come back out. But by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, most people were so drunk they couldn't stand up. And there was still never, and no one ever raised their voice, like in anger, laughing, giggling, playing around. But BOHOL is different than, I guess it's different than other places. So we don't worry about that stuff here. That's not really an issue, going against whatever rules they have. The rules here are almost next to nothing. I don't know when you came in, Michael, but there are no rules here. I mean, the only rule here is you can swim in the ocean any way you want. It doesn't matter, shore, out deep, on the reef. You can do spearfishing. I saw people spearfishing yesterday, catching a brown marble grouper, 26 inches from the nose to the inside cut of the tail. Lots of people swimming, maybe 20 people swimming, another 40 people on the beach. However, the hotels are closed in Alona Beach. There are no rooms to be rented. Now, I do think that the people from other islands that work for the hotels are allowed to stay on the property to do their maintenance. That I did see. I saw one hotel with about maybe 175 rooms, all total, and there were security on the property. So I don't know where they stay, but I guess they're allowed to stay on the property. And because next door, there's all hotels on the beach, all the security was still there. The normal security was still there in place, and to my knowledge, that doesn't happen. So let's talk about Emmy, Sense of Style. That's it. They said I should win an Emmy Award for my Bottom of the Flat Earth comedy. For the creative genome of the comedy itself, I should win an Emmy. That's what they didn't know what award it was either. He's not here now. Well, if he's here, he's probably doing chores. But he said I should win one of those things like they get for Saturday Night Live. And I should. That is one of the best comedy routines that anybody's ever seen. I'm going to have to revive that. I just don't have time to make notes for the bottom of the flat earth was pretty complex. If you remember, there were people in all kinds of situations on the bottom of the flat earth. There were people that were in charge, and then there were people that were subservient to people that were in charge, and then there were video makers and stenographers and security. Scott was the head of security on the bottom of the flat earth. There was people that would preside over, make determinations on the bottom of the flat earth. There was all kinds of. The show notes for the bottom of the flat earth were complicated. I was actually writing little, comedy scripts for the bottom of the flat earth. But digressing to the contest. Here's the contest. You guys let me know what you think. All right, so I got a contest in mind that no cheat on, and there won't be any lies associated with the contest. You will not be able to forge the truth. You will not be able to do anything but show the truth. So here's what the contest would consist of. LaRue is saying hello to Scott. Scott's saying hello. You're welcome, Michael. Yeah, no, if you came in late, then you would miss. The BOHOL is probably the most peaceful. It's the most peaceful place I've ever lived in the Philippines. And when I say lived, I've spent. When I used to go on vacations, first 2 years I was here, even from where I live now to go on vacation, my vacations were 2 weeks to 25, 26 days. So that's considered living. You get to know the place by then. I don't really remember seeing any. I remember seeing seedy places. We don't even have seedy places in Lona Beach. There's not even in the city, yeah, but we don't have those kind of. There's no in the city. They have these little doors, Michael, that you can. Like sometimes if I shop in the late afternoon, you will not see any of this stuff in the late afternoon. But on a few occasions, I stayed late, where I got to the city late, and I did my food shopping, and my food shopping ended, say, 7:30 at night, and I got on a tricycle from ICM Mall. But I also did food shopping at the BQ Mall. So I would go from the ICM Mall back through the back streets, and occasionally you'd see a woman standing at a door when you got down some of the side streets, and those were the little places that I guess they had dances. I don't know. I never been in one of those places. But in the city, from when you cut across from the ICM Mall, if you don't go down Garcia Boulevard, you go to the back street, there's a lot of little hotels, like second, 2-story buildings, 3-story maximum, all fans, mostly fans, not so much aircon, mostly old houses and buildings. There are a lot of places back there where you'll see girls walking around or standing in front of a door. I can only imagine what they're doing, but that's in the city, and that's 20 kilometers from here. They don't have that stuff here. I guess if you talk to a tricycle driver, they know pretty much where to do that thing, but they don't ask me. They don't ask you. They don't usually solicit that stuff. If you're coming back to Pang Lao, they don't do that. But if you're in the city, they'll ask you, maybe in the city. So the contest. All right, Scott Delfrega, the wordsmith is here. I am fading out. Worked 4 a.m. till 10 p.m. today. Getting crazy around here. Crazier, I should say. Big E in Cebu, the Reverend Big E in the Church of Christians Plus. Welcome to the machine. We did that, and you are just in time to give us your opinion. I'm going to do the contest right now. The contest is going to be a contest where nobody can lie about the truth. And here's the contest. You don't really win anything, you just win bragging rights. I want to know which foreigner in the Philippines, now this is something that nobody will be able to do blah, blah, blah about. I want to know which foreigner in the Philippines has the most, thickest, and least of a particular thing. One, they have the most hair on their head, number one. Number two, how much original color from their black or brown days is still in their hair, number two. Number three, 60. So those three things, and what you have to do is you have to pull your hair back like this. You don't have to get a haircut, because we already went through that. There was a man who challenged Michael Fazio daily, saying that Michael Fazio, when Michael Fazio had long hair, he challenged Michael Fazio daily, stating non-truths about Michael Fazio. And one of the non-truths was that Michael Fazio was wearing a toupee. Does anybody remember when I was accused of wearing a toupee? And I would say, I'm not wearing a toupee. I had a ponytail and everything. And every day I had to hear this man talk about how I was lying, and I really had a toupee on. So what I did was I actually went to the haircutting place, and I was actually at a haircutting place, and I was going to get my hair cut, and I'm looking at him going, it's like $1. It's only $1 to get a haircut. I'm going, wait. Why should I cut my hair and pay somebody $1 plus the tip? Why should I do that when I can get my subscribers to give me money to cut my hair? And that's when I planned the event, the big hair cutting event. And Daisy and I talked about it, and we discussed it, and I built it up for 2 or 3 weeks, that on a certain day was going to be a super chat day, and you would super chat me to cut my hair and to prove that I didn't have a toupee on. So theoretically, because of that challenge, I ended up making 47,500 pesos that day in super chat and donations. Okay, so that happened. So now I'm hearing other stories about how some of the bloggers that live on the island, and I can't prove that their hair, if they have a hat on or they're on video, how much hair they have. But what I can do is I can make a challenge to have every vlogger over the age of 60. Now, this is natural color. Daisy used to like to color it, but I don't do that. I'm not real vain about the color of my hair. I could care less personally. So, but I am hearing stories about people that their hairline not receded since high school. Now and they're 60 years old. There's a story in and of itself. Now we know that that's not true. The only person whose hairline didn't recede in my entire life that I knew that was 60 years old was Bobby Calise. And Bobby Calise was Frankie Calise's brother, and Frankie Calise took over the Teamsters Union in New York City. Frankie Calise, C-A-L-I-S-E, Calise, Frankie Calise. He took over the Teamsters Union when Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. And his brother Bobby Calise, when he was 60 years old, he still had a full head of hair. And it was black, and he didn't dye his hair. And everybody used to make fun of him. But he wore a hat his entire life. He never took the hat off. Anybody out there from the beach that remembers Bobby Calise and Frankie Calise? Anybody out there? That was anyway. Bobby never took his hat off, and he had a full head of hair. So here's the challenge. Everybody on YouTube that's 60 years old, you want bragging rights? But who has the most hair on YouTube? You got to take your hair back like this. You got to take it and pull your hair back. Pull it back. You can have long hair, but you got to pull the hair back where the strands of hair, the roots are seen. Now, if you got a comb over, the comb over is okay. You're allowed to have a comb over. But what I want to see are the roots of the hair when you pull the hair back. I want to see how big and how little or how small or how much hair has receded on everybody over the age of 60. Because I'm hearing these stories that people that are 60 years old plus, the hairline hasn't receded. Now, my hairline, even my hairline has receded. I know that to be a fact. So you can see my hair is real. Okay. Then we're going to turn that cam around, and we're going to look for the best looking place to land a small helicopter, like a little drone, one of those little drone helicopters. And the landing spot will be, if you have a bald spot on your head and it's natural, or you could shave it so that you win the bragging rights for the contest. If you have a bald spot in the back of your head, what you're going to have to do is separate your hair like this, something like this. I don't know. I guess I could do it like this. You got to separate your hair. Yeah, like this. Separate your hair and show us that bald spot. Now, some people, the bald spot's going to be different, but you can't have a comb over and say you got hair. You can't do that, because there are so many people out there that tell you stories that aren't true. They could make it easily. They could do a comb over that bald spot. I could make it mandatory, if you want to enter the contest, to get a crew cut like me, but I won't, because I know that some people are more vain than others, and they have to believe that their hair has not receded since high school. And that might be the case. Who knows? They might be telling the truth. That's not where we're talking about. What we're talking about is you win bragging rights for the most or least receding hairline, permanent red magic marker. And that's what we're going to use for me for today. Now, it won't last for a long time, so I have to get a straight edge. Now, the best thing to use for a straight edge, what I found is, for this contest will be some sort of a spoon or a spatula, and I will go get the spoon. I have an aluminum spatula. I don't know that you've ever seen it, but I'm going to show you we're going to mark our heads. Each person that enters the contest will make a mark from let's say the center of their head, or where their hairline starts, over to the side like that, right? Now, you can see, if I do this with the marker, you can see that my hair is back a solid 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Now, I don't have any fake toupee hair or glued on hair or anything like that. We don't have any, so mine receded 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to put that into the contest coordinates. My hairline back 3/8 of an inch. And I don't know if I have a bald spot in the back of my head. I don't know if there is one. What I do know is, when I was in New York, at my house in New York, and I would go outside on the deck to have a cigarette, the back of my head up on the top got cold faster than the sides of my head. So I do know there's less hair up there, but I don't know if it's bald. So if you guys want 20% loss of hair on the heliport, that it's going to be like a little drone helicopter, one of those little helicopters. They got, like the CIA uses. We'll get one from the NSA, and we'll be able to land that helicopter because they have camera with infrared imaging, and they have scanners and stuff like that. We'll be able, eventually, let's say the top 5 people that want to, you have bragging rights, right? You have bragging rights first, but then the top 5 people will come together to show the least amount of hairline recession. So it won't be something you could cheat at. And then the last part of the contest is going to be the color. Now you can see this is salt and pepper. Okay, so it's not, I didn't have a custom job. So I still have black hair. I'm 64. So I have some black, a lot of gray, and 3/8 of an inch recession. The best place to land a miniature helicopter drone and salt and pepper hair. Well, it could be, blonde. And I think, hello, welcome to the machine. We are, Kevin, you could join this. We have a contest going on, Kevin. Let me get my tools and I'll show you how the contest works. Just give me a moment. Big Kevin is going to Brazil. So if anybody wants to go to Big Kevin's channel when they see him on, he's got a girl there. I don't remember the girl's name. Tell us the girl's name. Her name is Big Kevin. I don't want to say the name wrong. I don't remember the girl's name. But Big Kevin is going to see a girl that he met in Brazil. So Big Kevin is now collecting funds for his trip to Brazil. If someone wants to donate money to Big Kevin, and his girl goes on his show a lot, or his love interest goes on his show a lot. So welcome to the machine. Let me get my tools, my hairline receding tools. Shirley, that's right, Shirley. That's right. Shirley Rodriguez. Right. Okay. Now I remember. Thank you, Big Kevin. Okay. So, I have my spatula right here. Come on. I had it in the pot. The pot. This is going to be the pot that we collect the money in the Church of Christians Plus. Here, it's going to be the money pot. It's always been the money pot. Anybody that doesn't have a pot to bang, well, they're not going to be able to collect money if they start a church. Well, I'm already ahead of the game. I doubt very much that like 75 people are going to be able to fill this pot up at any given day. So, but of course, who knows what's possible? Because if our motto at the Church of Christians Plus is, it is better for you to give and for me to receive, who knows how much money will be donated. Once Big E and I get together, when this thing settles down, we're gonna go crunch the numbers on buying the property next door, and then we'll go full onslaught of collecting monies for the church property from different people that have been charitable in the past. So Big E is a very good live streamer, and Chi Corsairs she's Sister Chi is a money maker, to be sure. She's a money maker from she could just stand there on her show and go shout out, shout out, shout out, shout, and people throw money at her like it was free, that it came free. She gets money for saying shout out. She sometimes she says your name, and sometimes she says your name twice, and it goes shout out, and people send the money. I can't do that. What I have to do, I have to work for my money. I have to take the pot and bang the pot, and then I make a lot. But right now, we're going to use the spatula, which is the other half of the pot, the money pot. We're going to put the pot down, and we're going to take the spatula, and let me show you, Kevin, how to rule. You don't need a spatula, Kevin. The contest is who has the most hair and the least receding hairline, and who has a bald spot with hair that's most favorable and like a good target to land a miniature helicopter drone. For you, Big Kevin, you can't be in the contest. You have no hair. You have no hair. So you don't have hair. If you do have hair, you're going to have to grow it so that you can go like this, Big Kevin. You could go like this and show everybody how far back your hairline is. Also, the color of your hair counts and the bald spot in the back of your head. So, but if you have a bald head or the sides are gone, or If you don't have sideboards, you can't join the contest. There's got to be a man that's got to know his limitations. But when you pull the hair back, you can have a comb over. What I noticed is there's a lot of guys on YouTube that have comb overs where they pull their hair forward like this. And then when they have the hair forward, they say, it's the same. I have the same amount of hair that I had, when I was 20 years old. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I got to tell you, I don't believe it. I believe that what you need to do to enter this contest and win is take your hair and pull it back like this. Now, I got my hair back. We got this back like this. It's back. Now we come to the meat and potatoes of the contest. We take off the permanent magic marker and we take a straight edge. This isn't even straight. I've been using something that ain't straight for a while. Pretty much my whole life, actually. I got something. I got a straight edge. Okay, being that we're talking about the Church of Christians Plus, of course, we're going to have little placards all over the church reminding you that it is better for you to give than to receive. And, of course, there'll be many LaRue Seagrass presiding over God. And, of course, there is only one God, and that is, in fact, the U.S. $1 bill. That's it. So there's In God We Trust one, and there you have. The only God that actually exists is the United States $1 bill with the little pictures on the back of the owl and the bat. That you're looking at a bat there, and if I turn it upside down, you're looking at an owl. That's right, baby. Go to my homepage, and you want to see that in real life. I show you this in definition, pictures, and video format of any dollar bill in the entire world. I have that on my homepage. So let me show you how you can join the contest from the privacy of your own room. Now you can see over here what happened is I shaved up high so that I don't have the sideboards going into my ear because it was itching me. But I do have hair over here. Look, see the hair over there? I have hair all around my ear. So, but the sideboards came down like this. You saw them last week. So I don't, but what I'm going to show you now is the receding part. This is how you either win or lose the contest. So let me put it like this. Okay. I think we got it. Yeah, I think we could do it like that. All right. So you can enter the contest with pictures or you can do video. I'm going to just put this here as a marker because that's where I think it was. And then I'm thinking that this is where my hair was when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, I was thinking that's about where my hair was. So theoretically, the part that's missing, I'm thinking that goes back about 3/8 of an inch. So I lost since high school a solid 3/8 of an inch of my hair. So Big E, he has hair according to a picture that I saw, but I also heard that Big E has the perfect place for a small helicopter drone to land on the back of his head. So he might win the landing pad for the helicopter on the back of his head. And I might win the least amount of hair loss since high school. And now we could, if someone had a picture of themselves in high school, I do, in fact, but I don't need one because you can see I still have hair. We could have pictures of someone in high school who had a full head of hair, and then now they don't. But we could have someone in high school that had short hair. Then you'd be able to see the real hairline. So then they could, if I had my pictures available from high school or when I was 20 years old, those I have many of, I could show you that my hair was once at right around the mark is right here. And then now I could show you that it's back a solid 3/8 of an inch since my high school days. Now, if anybody else has high school pictures and short hair, then you can enter the contest and use those measurements, and we'll know they're real. But if you have your hair pushed forward like this, look, see what a difference this makes? Now, I just have short hair, but if I do a comb over, and there are people that are going to try to cheat. Look, now look at that. I look like Ringo Starr, yeah? And my hair's over my ears and stuff like that. There's no cheating in this contest. You need to wet your hair, put some Brill cream on there, something like that, and push that hair back, and then get that line on there. You can use a license plate, a one-guard license plate, or you could use a straight edge. You could even use a spatula. But that's the contest that I want to have. And you don't win any money. You just get bragging rights for having the least receding hairline. And the fact, if we have had to hear your stories about that, I don't know, whatever stories they are. I mean, there's one fella in Mindanao that his story is that he's never lost any hair since high school. Never. Now, as I said before, Bobby Calise is the only person I knew that his hairline didn't recede. It was the same. My father knew him when he was born. They were born 2 doors away from each other and on the same block. And they were friends until Bobby died at, I think, 62, 63 years old. He died young. And so the other story, now I'm not telling you my hair didn't recede. I'm telling you back a solid 3/8 of an inch. Whether or not I could get into the helicopter landing pad thing. Now, Big Kevin, it wouldn't be fair for Big Kevin to be in the contest because when the helicopter was landing, let's say the contest took place at noon, Big Kevin's head would reflect so much light, the helicopter pilot would probably get blinded by the light. So Kevin can't be in there. But Big E, according to the pictures and according to the internet chatter on the internet, you would be a candidate to land a miniature helicopter on the back of your head. I mean, and all the money that we collect at the Church of Christians Plus could be put towards charitable causes. So we could even make this a monetary contest where sight unseen people will send myself, because I will be the person that collects the funds for the church. You will be the reverend that presides over the singles ministries on Friday. You'll come to the BOHOL on Thursday, interview the ladies. We already talked about how much I'm going to charge the men that are coming to the Philippines to meet the ladies. I'm going to charge them $7 a kilo for them and whatever the lady weighs. So if you have a lady that weighs 100 kilos, that's $700. $7 a kilo. So $700. And if the man weighs 200 kilos, that's $1,400. That's $2,100 each way. So I'll get them a round trip ticket. The ticket will cost maybe $1,500, and that leaves us $600 for the church. So Big E's going to come to the Church of Christians Plus and prepare the underworld for the interviews for the ladies for the dating. And then on Friday, the actual dating will take place via computers, and Big E will preside over the internet computer dating aspect of this. And if a man wants to come to the Philippines, Big E will take the information, and then he will make the preliminary airline reservations, and then the gentleman who wants to come and meet the Big E's flock, underworld flock, then he can send $7 a kilo for both himself and the girl. And when he can send an arbitrary amount, if he says he weighs 100 kilos and when he gets here, he weighs 110 kilos, we'll just charge him the extra $70. I mean, that's going to fluctuate, and everybody's going to try to cheat a little bit. But like the hair contest, you can't cheat. You're going to weigh what you weigh. You might take your shoes off, maybe even you cut your hair, but You're going to weigh what you're going to weigh, and you're going to pay $7 a kilo for you and the girl that you want to meet. Now, if you picked a woman and you met the woman, it's only $7 a kilo for you and her. There's no additional charges if you change your mind. When you get to the underworld where Reverend Big E and Sabu is giving them the rule book and how to be cordial to a foreigner and stuff like that. Once he's done prepping the girls will know how to deal with foreigner, and the foreigner advances because foreigners are very aggressive. So once Big E is done in the underworld prepping the girls to meet the foreigners, either in person or online, that's what it's going to be. LaRue Segrest is going to be in charge of Vespers and prayer. Big E, Reverend Big E, will be in charge of the dating part of it. I will collect the monies for the fund. All we have to do is add a D, and they'll be calling me Father Fundraiser. So I will collect the monies, and the monies I will collect on whenever we pass the pot. Remember when in church they passed the pot? Well, this is the pot. This is the money pot. I will pass the pot, and on Sundays and Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays is when the sessions will take place. When I pass the pot, you put the money in the pot. I bang the pot, I flip the pot over, and the pot collects a lot of money for the church. And remember, our motto at my church, the Church of Christians Plus, is it's better for you to give than to receive. So if anybody has any questions, if they want to join the conversation, whether or not they want to join in the conversation, if they think they have a minimal receding hairline or they have a helicopter, the perfect helicopter landing pad in the back, please, by all means, ask your question. What I need is a little bit of water. A little bit. LOL. All right, so hold on. All right. I got it right here, baby. Got it. Back in place. Back in position. You might see my laundry in the back. I did laundry. No, you don't even see that. I did laundry today. I gotta tell you. Twice I did laundry now in the last couple of weeks. Same the bed sheets. I actually soaked the pillows in bleach and soap. It just gets all the oil because when you sleep, you sweat. And twice I did the laundry. Twice I was done rinsing the laundry, and twice it started to rain. Twice. I'm going, how do it know? Trash the Cash is wearing a kaput will cause hair thinning. Well, not for Bobby Calise. It may very well cause your hair to thin. I don't wear a hat. Typically, I don't wear a hat unless I go into character, and then I'll put a bandana on, a hard hat, or if I want to act stupid, sometimes I'll put the hat on backwards and do stupid stuff or say stupid stuff. But typically, when I put the hat on backwards, it's just because I want to keep the hair out of my eyes. But now I don't have to worry about that because my hair is out of my eyes. And the next haircut that you see will be, I forget what they call it, but I'm going to go start here and come back and just run a strip like a mohawk. And on the sides are going to be opal, bald, humana. That means nothing. Nothing. Humana, voila. The leaf. Opal on the sides. And then on the top will be about a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch thick on the top. I'm going native. There's a lot of guys in the general area around here that did that haircut. The local haircut guy, Shanghai, I call him. The local haircut guy came around. They must have did 4, 5, 6 people. You know, he'll come like once a month, and then I think he charges 40 pesos for a haircut. But for me, I said to him, Shanghai. You know, he said hello, and he calls me Shanghai. I call him Shanghai. And I said, how many pesos? He goes, 100 pesos. I said, everybody else is 40 pesos. He goes, he starts laughing. So he wanted not twice, but 2.5 times as much money for me to cut my hair, for him to cut my hair. I said, the same like my friend. And he goes, yeah, 100. No, I will pass. So I went to the city, same day, came back, 50 pesos, baby. I give the guy a tip, of course, so 70 pesos, but not 100. But I mean, if it's a local guy, and all he does is come around with a hair cutting tool, an electric shears, and a scissor and a razor blade, and he has no overhead. He doesn't have an electric bill. He doesn't have chairs. He doesn't have to buy talcum powder or, you know, lotions. He just cuts your hair. There's nothing. It's a no-frill haircut. And he charges 40 pesos, and they charge 50 where you sit down in a nice chair in the city and everybody talks to each other and there's a lot of banter and chatter. He wanted 100 pesos. Now, of course, all the guys were knocking around. They were all drinking. But they know I don't get their hair cut here. I go into the city. I tell them 50 pesos. I tell them 50 pesos. No, 100. You have Mahal pesos. No, I have a lot of pesos, and we have no pesos, so you charge 2.5 times what the locals charge. And 40 pesos is a lot of money because most of the local make 50 pesos an hour. So they're paying like $8 for a haircut. And if you transfer the money over to American, I don't understand. Says Big E in Cebu. So Big E is going to run the underworld dating service. The Reverend Big E in Cebu will train the girls how to act when they meet the foreigners, not to be well, I don't know much about dating Filipinos. I mean, you know, and when I was a foreigner, the girls would have a tendency to try to take advantage of you. And you didn't know any better. It didn't really cost much anyway. But now, most of the Filipinos that you meet, once they know that you're in the Philippines for a long time, the single women would be very not reluctant to date you, but foreigners have given other foreigners such a bad name that they don't want to date you because they don't want to know if you're just some non-lucid foreigner, you know, go dilly-dallying around with every girl in the Philippines. So they know me from the city, the girls that I meet, they all know me for 6 years. And that I don't have that kind of a reputation. But a lot of foreigners come to the Philippines, and you wonder why the girls treat you like garbage. It's because most of the foreigners treated the girls like garbage, and then they just don't have any respect for you. It's reciprocity. So that's my show for today. Anybody have any questions before I go about one other thing I forgot to tell you about shopping in BOHOL? If you are over 65 years old, not allowed. So, and there's a curfew. There is a curfew. Well, I'll read it to you. The curfew is 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. province-wide. So all of BOHOL. 24 hours for ages over 65. Wow. So if you're 65 years old, you're not allowed outside the house. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So it's So if you are above 65 years old, you're not allowed out of the house. And below 18, you're not allowed out of the house. 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So that's the new restriction. So the curfew is 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. for 65 and above and below 18. So here's the regulation. And then as far as wearing a mask is concerned, this is the circulating flyer that I got from the tricycle driver. Mandatory face mask at all times in public places, starting March 26th, 5 a.m. So anytime you're in a public place, you have to have a mask, which is not so problematic because in BOHOL, they're not making you wear a mask like this. You don't have to have one of these masks. I do, but you don't have to have one of these. What you can use is a handkerchief. Anything that covers your mouth and your nose, anything at all, perfectly okay. When the military stopped the jeepney last week, they looked around. Many people had a handkerchief or a towel, anything around their head. As long as it covered their nose and their mouth, it was okay. And that's it. If anybody has any questions, now's the time. I would like to say thank you for stopping by, Big E, Reverend Big E in Cebu. I did watch about a couple of minutes of Sister Cheese show last night, but I didn't get to stay on the show. My internet died about a little after, well, when the live stream died at noon yesterday or 1 o'clock. And then it came back on around 10, I guess it was. And I was on until 1, and at 1 o'clock it turned off. But now I have a new modem. I did not order the computer. I'll give you guys that are here. I did not order the computer because, oh God, I'm having trouble with that. Okay, number one, purchasing the Asus Pro Duo, the Asus ZenBook Pro Duo from Newegg, not allowed. Well, I could, but if it needs warranty work under the warranty for 1 year, so if it breaks like one day after I buy it and it has to go back to America, I have to pay the shipping back to America. Number one. And the problem with that is not the cost of the shipping, which would be about $100, by the way. It was $60. It was $63 to ship a GoPro camera with no battery in it back to America. $63 last March. $63. So I don't even know what a computer would cost. Could cost $150. I don't know. But anyway, so I call up Newegg and chat with them with chat. I had it in a live stream, and they'll sell it, and it'll be here in 3 to 5 business days for 3,750 pesos. So for basically $80, it'll be here in 5 business days. But if you have a problem with it, you have to send it back to America. But if you have to send it back to America and it has a lithium-ion battery in it, you have to take the battery out, and they won't service it unless you send the battery back with the unit. That's Newegg explained that to me, because they're not a computer building company, they're a sales company. Either way, can't buy it from Newegg. So that price was 147,000 pesos, which I have donated from Super Chats and single pledges on Patreon. So I went to the next store, Lazada. And Lazada had the computer listed for a ridiculously low price. But when you go there, it's just a gimmick. It's clickbait. So they don't have any computers. They don't have even the ZenBook. They don't even have that in stock. So it doesn't matter what it is that you want. When you go to Lazada, it says this item is out of stock. So the Asus ZenBook Pro Duo, when you click the link for Lazada, it says out of stock. So they don't have the product I want, and that was with the 4K screen and stuff. So I went to Lazma, which is, I think it's a derivative of Lazada, and they didn't have it. That was out of stock too. So I went to the next place that had a similar price, and that place didn't have computers. So I had 3 of those places up besides Newegg. So basically, I went to all of them. I found one. The new price would be about 192,000 pesos. It's almost $4,000. But they don't have it in stock. It's like, well, why are you advertising it? Why don't you just take the advertising down? Why do you have it? Why don't you just put out of stock? So at that point, which was yesterday morning early, I'm going to go back looking for a computer when I'm done here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I might put up a shelf. I want to put up another little shelf. I'm running out of space here to store these little knickknacks over here. I got books, pens, magic markers, all kinds of, clips. I don't really need all this stuff over here. So I'm going to make a little shelf to put some of the stuff on. All right, then. I don't see anybody commenting. But I did get a lot of comments, and thanks very much. Excuse me for stopping by. And remember, I'm here. I mean, my hair is here, and your hair might be there. Remember, my hair is back 3/8 of an inch since high school. So that anybody that sees the test, Big E, I'm thinking you're almost a shoo-in. No pun intended. You're almost a shoo-in for a perfect miniature helicopter landing pad on the back of your head. According, now I didn't see it, but according to one of the world's most famous bloggers, it's according to his words, and if he says it, it must be true. So Big E, looks like I have gleaned some information from one of the world's greatest bloggers that you might be in contention for having the world's greatest miniature heliport on the top of your head, and you didn't even know it. You didn't even know it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the machine. So, Jack Thompson, thank you for stopping by. If you want me to call you when I'm done, tell me now. I'll look. LaRue Seagrass, welcome to the machine. Big Kevin, Big E, Trash to Cash, Scott Del Fuego, Michael Hendelson, I think his name was, Sense of Style. Thank you very much for the super chat. Michael Hendelman, I think the man's name was, if I remember correctly. Hold on a minute. I can't see. Pedro Rojas Cervantes, the crazy Canadian. Let's see, Michael Hadelman. Where is Michael's? Did he take his comment down? Here. Michael Handelman. Michael Handelman, thanks for the education. Michael Handelman with a major super chat, $5, and Sense of Style with a most generous super chat. We will sing the song for Sense of Style. And Michael Handelman, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And we do appreciate the super chat much more. And I'm not being facetious. I love this. I'm really getting into this blogging thing. The super chat is kind of a secondary thing. And after last week, we could do a new type of show. What we can't possibly do a show on who collects the most super chat. That's not possible, but we could do a show where everybody sends in, I don't know, the initials of the show. Like my initials would be HWBAMF. HWB. So that would be Hoodwinked by an Angel, Michael Fazio. We could put down the winner of the least amount of super chat. So who does not want or need the money and who does not get the super chat? We could do a show like that. And then we could do a show called Over and Underachievers for super chat. Now you got some of the big channels out there. I can't compete for the over, and I certainly don't quantify to be an underachiever. I am not an overachiever or an underachiever when it comes to super chat, because there's a guy out there. I don't know what the guy does. I don't know. I heard there's a guy named Big Kevin. He collects $300, $400, $500, $600 on a good day of super chat. God bless his soul. And there's another guy that I heard is doing the same thing. You got Vinny Eastwood out there, but he's not a Philippines blogger. He's an Australian blogger, collecting $1,500 a day. You got Chris in the Philippines doing super chats, sometimes anywhere from $30 to $600, $700, $800 in a day. I've seen that happen too a few months back when he was building his house. I'm not an overachiever when it comes to super chat, but it would be interesting to see who gets voted to be the highest super chat earner and the lowest super chat earner by initials only, and then they could have bragging rights for over or underachiever. I mean, either way, you're at the high end or the bottom end of your scale. Either way, you are at the end of the spectrum, and that's a win-win situation as far as I see. And I think that was it. I don't remember seeing anybody else's name. No, Pedro LaRue, Seagrass, thank you. Yep, that's it. We got everybody. Sense of style, better to give. And that's our motto at the Church of Christians Plus. It is better for you to give and for us to receive. I'm going to have to figure out how to placard that. Michael Handelman, dude, don't get shot, baby. We don't have those kind of problems in Bohol and Scott Del Fuego, Jack Thompson. And here today, gone tomorrow. See ya. That's right, baby. Here today, gone tomorrow. Now that's something you could put on a placard. The guy who wins the contest for the least receding hairline could have a placard. Hair today, gone tomorrow. Yeah, baby. Sam said hello. I don't know who Sam is. Welcome to the machine, Sam. We're ending the show. It's just almost 2 hours. I've been talking for almost 2 hours. Probably talked for most of that time. We're going to say goodbye. Welcome to the machine, Sam. And remember, Pedro Rojas Cervantes said, hair today, gone tomorrow. That's right, baby. He coined the phrase. Pedro Rojas Cervantes coined the phrase, hair today, gone tomorrow. I like that. That we could have that as the name of the contest. Very good. Twin Dragon Tyler. Welcome to the machine. Twin Dragon, if you'd like to say something, if you've seen my channel before, you have I'm gonna continue this for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just gonna make it a 2-hour live stream. And welcome to the machine. We talked about my friend Warren H., who had a slight heart attack, and he's back in ICU. Should be out today. They mixed some new medicine with his old medicine, and it made his heart flutter. We talked about receding hairlines. Mine is back 3/8 of an inch from high school. We talked about bald spots on the back of the head and who has one and who doesn't. Now, I can't see if my hair is bald in the back. I can't see. I know I feel the wind. I feel the wind a little bit more on the back of my head than I did when I was a kid, but that was always the case. Your hair's thin back there. So that's who has the best bald spot to land a miniature helicopter, the kind like that the NSA or the CIA use, those little miniature helicopters with the micro cameras and LEDs and stuff, you know, like GPS. Who has the best bald spot in the back of the head? We talked about that. It's going to be a contest called Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. And Pedro Rojas Cervantes, he's the one who coined that phrase, hair today, gone tomorrow. We talked about Scott Del Fuego. His job is getting crazy. And talked about my laundry. I did laundry twice. The last 2 times I did it, it rained. I'm talking finished rinsing, put it on the line outside, and it rained. I'm talking like within a minute of me hanging the last thing, it started raining. We talked about how do it know to rain when I'm done. Talked about the restrictions. Motorcycle transportation, to rent a motorcycle in BOHOL is not allowed anymore, and only 1 person per tricycle is allowed. Masks of any nature that don't have to be regulation, perfectly okay on the island of BOHOL. You can't buy food in a mall. If you're over 65 years old, you're not allowed in right now in this time. And over 65 and under 18, you're not allowed out from 9 o'clock at night till 5 a.m. So I'm 64. I can stay out till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, which I never would. I have no use for that, but I'm allowed to. And yeah, so under 65, you can go out and travel free restriction. No, there is no travel restrictions, but if you are on a tricycle, the tricycle driver and the passenger both have to have some sort of facial covering. We talked about the cost of jeepneys going up from 20 pesos to 40 pesos to get from Alona Beach to the ICM or BQ Mall, and the same back, the same price back. 80 cents brings you 20 or 24 kilometers, depending on which store you're going. And we talked about the Church of Christians Plus, where I will be starting a church. We're looking into buying the property next door to me. And Big E in Cebu that you see above you, and myself, we're going to look to see if the investment is worthwhile in today's times with the monetary situation the way it is. And we're going to start a church called the Church of Christians Plus. All denominations welcome. All denominations, all religions, all beliefs. It's not going to be that kind of church. It's going to be the kind of church where you give and I receive, and in return, LaRue Segrest will pray for you. Da-ding! Okay, this session of the Church of Christians Plus has come to an end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Amping Permi, which means take care always. Bye-bye, everybody. I will be doing a live stream on Sunday. I will not be doing a live stream on Saturday. I don't think. I'm not sure. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Amping Permi from BOHOL, baby. That's right.